All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What is going on, YouTube? We're back with another episode of the Witching Hour. Still fighting through this voice. Little guest appearance on this show today. It's not Titletown, but none better than our guy Hoop over here. Guy ships 50 stacks every other day. I've been having an incredible season this year in the MLB streets, PGA streets, you name it. This guy wins money. One of the best players in the entire industry for years upon years. Hoop, I'll bring you in right away. You and Tambo just got off the golf show. Hopefully that went well. How we doing? Happy Tuesday, man. Glad to have you.
Hey, I mean, you talk me up like that, I'm going to have to show up a little more often here on these MLB shows. Quite the opening. Obviously, MLB, they call it like the dog days of summer. That's kind of where we're at. NFL's right around the corner. We still got these MLB slates, PGAs coming to an end, but it's only 9-10 days away. My Lions, I guess they're my Lions taking on the Chiefs. So that's the exciting part about everything here. I mean, NFL right around the corner. Could not be more excited. But, in the meantime, we got a nice little how many games are on this slate? 12, 13?
12,
ton of
12 games.
Yeah,
yes,
12
it's
games.
A big
slate.
boy.
So, prize pools are always big. So we're going to navigate through this puppy and get those SHIPIT Nation logos into the winner's circle tonight.
Yeah, good thing for a Detroit sports fan. Detroit Lions, looking good over the horizon there. A little bit better than those Tigers, those Pistons. Yeah. You guys got something cooking there with the Lions football team. It should be fun. You got the Sun God there. You got all the other young talent. Should be fun. Should be a good little rival with our rebuilding, as they so to say, in Green Bay here in these Green Bay streets. So it should be a fun little rivalry. And you guessed it. I mean, you said it. NFL right around the corner. No better time than to join. 3-2-1 blast off. We're going to the moon, baby. $321 6-month package. And that's right. That leads you all the way through the end of the Super Bowl with those. They usually always run massive showdown pools, couple milli makers. I mean, who doesn't love going to a good Super Bowl party with the chance to win $1 million? So $321 does get you access to not only NFL, NHL, which I'll be having you covered with. Our NBA, our NBA product is incredible. These projections over here at SHIPIT Nation are incredible for NBA, multiple live final seats. I took down the single entry series last year on DraftKings, the $100 leaderboard contest. I mean, you name it, MMA's there, PGA's there, everything. $321 for all core plays, content, proprietary tools, information, shows, everything. You can't really beat that price. And then our partners over here at ShipItNation.com, drafters. Still time to jump in those best ball streets. I know Title talks about it all the time. The reigning champion himself. There is looking to be some overlay in that big boy contest, and maybe someone else can take him down for $300K. Hopefully it's a SHIPIT Nation member over here. Use that code SHIPIT. Gets you 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And that's their best promo that they offer. If you just go over to drafters.com, create a new account, they're not going to give you a free $100. They'll give you, I believe it's up to $50. So they're doubling their money using that code SHIPIT. So definitely head over there, check those guys out. Still time to act in those best ball streets. They got the $25 one. They got a really nice $3 one. Awesome product, awesome partners over here. But Hoop, it's a baseball show. We got 12 games on tap. We're going to go like we always do. We're going to go pitchers, then we'll go game by game. And you and I were talking a little bit before this show, right? It's kind of an interesting slate here, right? You got obviously the Braves on this slate. You got the Dodgers. You got big bats to pay for. You got the Mariners with a good implied run total. And the highest priced pitcher is $11K. I mean, none of this 11.5, 12K, 12.5 pitchers on this slate. Highest priced pitcher is Zach Gallen. Gets a tough matchup here against Texas. You got Blake Snell up there. Let's go 8,500 and above. So you got quite a few guys in here. You got Miller, Kikuchi, Luzardo, Giolito, Verlander, Bailey Ober, Blake Snell, and Zach Gallen. I know you and I were talking about Blake Snell a little bit. Does look like Giolito is going to be the chalk of this range at just 9,100. Gets that Cincinnati lineup who's been striking out a ton. You got Verlander in there making facing a Boston team. And then you got Blake Snell, who's going to be pretty highly owned. It does get a Miami team here at home in 70-degree weather out west. Where are you going in this range? Who do you got interest in?
Yeah, it's an interesting slate where there's not a ton that stands out for pitching. And usually on those slates, we see offenses stand out, like a ton of offenses. Well, it's kind of weird where there's not a ton I like at pitching. And then in terms of stacking and offenses, there's not a ton there either that really stands out. So, just focusing on the pitching to start here, the guys that I have interest in up top, or the one guy I have interest in up top would be Blake Snell at 10-7. Probably the most popular in this range, but the way I build teams, I'm not all that worried about pitcher ownership. I just want the guys I feel most comfortable with. So, especially out of these 3 10K guys, I'll have the most exposure to him at 10-7. I'm going to probably be staying away from Gallen. Like, if I can pay down in spots, I'm going to pay down. I'm going to kind of prioritize some of these offenses I do like over the pitchers that I do like. But Snell will be my highest owned. Probably not a lot of Gallen. And then the same for Ober. I don't really like Bailey Ober. Like, what's the upside with him? He hasn't been over 18 fantasy points since July 1st. Like, I don't know. I just don't see the upside there. I think I can get the same upside for much cheaper. So out of these 3 all the way up top, probably only Snell for me. Coming down a little bit more, I don't really love the spot for Verlander. He's fine. But again, at 9.5, I want to feel good that my guy can get into the 20s. And I wouldn't be surprised if Verlander gets like 17 or 18 here tonight. That could end up being good enough. Not a ton interest there on Verlander at 9.5. But Lucas Giolito, I do have interest in. 9.1K, like you talked about it, the Reds striking out a bunch. They are at home in this pitcher's ballpark. It's a little bit of a price discount. 9.1, I think, is a very fair price tag. K-prop sitting at 6.5, and the juice is on the over. So Vegas does think he's going to come in here and strike out some guys. Strikeouts are king in MLB DFS, and his price tag is good at 9.1. So of all the guys, 9K and above, Snell, Giolito. Now, both those guys will get a decent bit of ownership, but I'm not too worried. And I don't have a lot of interest in the other ones, 9K and above here.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. I'm in lockstep, arm in arm with you with Blake Snell, because you can actually, again, shocker, Braves are my favorite team, but it's more than just against a bad pitcher. It's also 97 degrees with wind blowing out in Truist Park, hot and humid, best hitting conditions on the slate. Braves are going to be probably the highest on stack, but you can 5-man the Braves and still play one of these top-end arms. You do have to punt one of your pitchers. You and I seem to be pretty locked arm in arm at the pitcher position here tonight, which usually means pretty good things coming for the SHIPIT Nation crew over here. So I'm arm in arm with you, Blake Snell. He's going to be lower owned than Giolito. That's enough for me to just say, hey, Giolito, yeah, he does have a really good matchup. I mean, these Reds, 31%, 32%, 31, 37, 30. I mean, 6 of these guys in this lineup strike out 30% or higher against right-handed pitching on the road. So I do think he has a ton of strikeout upside here, but man, he's going to be almost 40% owned on a 12-game slate. And we know what can happen with Giolito. He can go out there. Yeah, he can strike out 9 guys, or he can also give up 4 home runs and get pulled in the second inning kind of thing. He's been blown. He's been known to blow up. I mean, he does get barreled at right around 11% clip. So Giolito, I think, is fine. He is a fine option, but he's going to be chalky. And I think I'd rather just eat a little less chalk and just spend up a little bit more with Blake Snell. So I do love Blake Snell. I'm out on Zach Gallen, out on Bailey Ober. Justin Verlander, I just don't think has enough upside at the price point against Boston, the low strikeout team. So I'm out on Verlander. Kikuchi's interesting. Title, our guy Title, always brings up Kikuchi every time he's on the slate because he does have the strikeout upside, 25% K rate on the season. But these Orioles, man, this 22% strikeout rate at home against left-handed pitching. It is, I'm pretty sure it's pretty decent weather in Baltimore too. I see some slight wind blowing in, but should be decent there. So Kikuchi, I wish he was just cheaper. 8,900 is a pretty hefty price tag to play for Kikuchi. I mean, he doesn't have the greatest projection either. You need to save on some pitchers. I don't like double spend up pitcher route tonight here. Like I said, I like the Braves. You got the Dodgers with guaranteed 9th inning at bats. You got some other teams in here. So probably out on everyone else in this range, to be honest. So if I had to rank it, it'd be Blake Snell number 1 for me. Giolito, I guess, would be the de facto number 2 just because of the matchup, the strikeouts that are there. But you have to be careful playing Giolito because I'm assuming a lot of teams are going to go one of Blake Snell and Giolito, and then probably Grayson Rodriguez, Hogan Harris, one of those cheap guys. John Gray might get a little ownership too, because John Gray's just 6,700. So definitely interesting. Who's your top end up here? Is it still Blake Snell, Giolito, kind of locked down?
Yeah, probably those two. I just don't like much else. And I will say with Kikuchi, I do have some interest, but it'd be more like for 150 lineups. Like I think he does have like winning, slight winning upside. If I'm hand building a couple teams, that probably don't get to him, but for 150, I think he's a fine option because probably when you look at just the numbers and the fantasy point production, he's been one of the better guys going today. So I'm fine going to him. So it would be, those three would be, Snell, Giolito, and then Kikuchi. I'd be fine with in 150.
Yeah, absolutely. Locked arm in arm there with you. Let's hit on the rest of the pitchers. Couple of names I'm going to throw out to you. I'm not going to read them all, but we'll go 8,400 and above. That leaves Ashcraft up at the top. One guy I want to bring up, Carlos Rodon, for those Yankees against that Washington team. I'm seeing him 15 to 20-ish% owned. Wade Miley might get a little ownership against the strikeout happy Twins team there. John Gray, 6,700 against Arizona. I saw some John Gray talk in the chat. You get Oviedo. I know we've played Oviedo here in the past. One guy I do want to bring up, though, Brian Wu, just 7,600. He ranks really good in our metrics over here, but he is coming off of an elbow injury, I believe. Did not make any rehab starts, so we really don't have any clarity on pitch count for him, but he's a very, very big strikeout arm there. We'll see what happens. Obviously gets this White Sox team here. So hit on Brian Wu. With the uncertainty there. I mean, he is still 7,600. I'd like to see him a little bit cheaper there with the uncertainty, but any interest in him? And then obviously hit on the two guys down low that are going to get a decent amount, probably 20 to 30% ownership in Grayson Rodriguez for sure, and then Hogan Harris as well.
Yeah. With Wu, it does seem a little bit risky. I mean, obviously the upside is there, and it could be a slate where the output at pitching is lower, where you don't need these big high end scores. I just don't see a lot, so I probably won't play him. They said he did like a 20 pitch bullpen session, and there was a quote, I think it was by like a beat writer, that they expect him to be cautious. So risky play, but if you like him, and potentially okay. Rodon, I just can't do anymore, man. I always try to play him, and I hope he does get ownership here tonight because I'm just not playing his ass. I don't care. 7.8K. He's been terrible. Just like one good game, it seems like recently. I'll be off him. I do like John Gray, though. John Gray is a guy that does have slate winning upside. I mean, he can go out there and just absolutely, nuke it with strikeouts. We've seen it multiple times this season. He has mid-30 fantasy point upside, 6.7K. Spot's not great in Arizona, but he just has strikeout upside, and that's what you need in MLB DFS. So I am interested in him. We talked about Grayson Rodriguez a little bit. I think he's just a really good play at 6.1K at home against Toronto. Toronto better suited to face left-handed pitching. I think Grayson Rodriguez is just a very solid option at 6.1K. I mean, I think he could be much more expensive. Like 6.1 is a bargain barrel price tag, and he's been better than a 6.1K pitcher. So definitely in on him at 6.1. Hogan Harris, like you talked about, at 5.9K. Fine, this is a punt price tag. These are pitchers you play so you can full stack the Braves or something like that. And again, it's a slate where I just don't know if we need the high end finishes from pitchers. I could see a lot of 16, 17, 18 fantasy point games. And if that's the case, if Harris comes in and ends up in the 13, 14 range, it could be good enough. So I do like him as well. It's kind of it for me. John Gray, Grayson Rodriguez, Hogan Harris I'm interested in. I'm just seeing if there's anything else here that I want to play. You talked about Oviedo. I don't think I'm going to get there. He had a nice stretch, but then it's kind of fallen off a little bit. But when he is right, I mean, he is able to go out there and get you 5 or 6 innings, pick up 5 or 6 strikeouts. Good pitcher ballpark. Maybe if I needed another guy in this range, he'd be next in line. But for me, I'll be really focused on Grayson Rodriguez, Hogan Harris, and John Gray.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. I'm locked arm in arm with you with Grayson Rodriguez. He's 6,100 and has the 7th best strikeout matchup on the entire slate over the season-long numbers. Now against this Toronto team, it's the temperatures are in the 70s. I haven't called the roof hotline to see if the roof is open. I'm assuming it is open because it's only in the 70s. I don't see any weather concerns there. And sorry, it's in Baltimore. So it's in Camden. But yeah, 70 degrees, wind blowing in. I'm seeing 5 to 10 mile an hour wind blowing in. And 6,100, I mean, he is going to be probably 30 to 35% ownership at least, maybe even higher and higher stake stuff. But man, 6,100, he's been good. And I mean, he's got great strikeout upside. So I do like Grayson Rodriguez. I think 6.1K is too cheap. He could be 8,800, somewhere in that range on this slate, I think. And people would still play him. So checks out pretty good for me. I actually have no interest in Hogan Harris because I would rather just save almost $1,000 and go right to the pitcher on the other side there. Same game environment. Both the pitchers have very similar stats. Yeah, Hogan Harris has a little bit better strikeout percentage, strikeout rate, strikeout stuff on the season, but it's still Hogan freaking Harris pitching for the Athletics with the worst bullpen behind him. Angel Zerpa, I think at 5K flat in that same game, same pitching environment, everything. If you're really punting, you really need salary, I would just punt with him instead of Hogan Harris because I am playing Grayson Rodriguez there. He's one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. And then John Gray is another one of my favorite pitchers. I think you could very, very easily get away with a John Gray, Grayson Rodriguez lineup because even these guys at the top hoop, I mean, Blake Snell, Giolito, both of those guys can blow up, walk some guys, give up home runs, right? None of those guys are bulletproof. And, hey, if the Braves come out here and score 12 runs, which they haven't exploded for in a while, if tonight they explode, you're going to want those Braves. And if you do that and those top-end arms, which really aren't in elite matchups by any means, aren't the Spencer Striders of the world, they could get beat up. And, hey, maybe a double spend-down pitcher route like a John Gray, Grayson Rodriguez, throwing any of these other guys down here could be the route. So I do like John Gray quite a bit, Grayson Rodriguez. And then if I'm fully punting, I'm not going to mess with Hogan Harris. I'd just rather punt all the way down to 5K Angel Zerpa in that same exact game. So let's go ahead and give the people the top 4 pitchers on the slate for you before we go game by game.
Man, it's just not a great pitching slate, honestly. And like you mentioned, like the double cheap, I think, is certainly in play. And I'll go Snell. I'll go Grayson Rodriguez. I'll go Giolito. Then I'll throw Kikuchi in there. I think he has a chance to. He's been probably one of the best guys on the slate, and the price doesn't feel comfortable, but I'll have him in the 4 hole. But I'm really flexible at pitcher today in terms of what I do and how I build them because just, man, not much is standing out. And like you said, the guys that are quote unquote, I guess, safe-ish on the slate are not very safe. So a lot of flexibility though for me at pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. One guy I did want to bring up, Mike Clevenger. I saw a question in our chat from Matt. What's going on, Matt? Hopefully you're doing good, man. Welcome back into the streets tonight. Mike Clevenger, I do have a little bit of interest. I mean, he does get the Seattle team that obviously there's a ton of strikeouts, but Seattle has been smashing the baseball. It is good hitting weather too, from what I can see in Chicago. So I think I would rather save a little bit more money off Clevenger or spend $100 and go up to John Gray because I'm seeing them both right around the same. I mean, neither of them are really getting a ton of ownership. So I'd much rather just find $200 or $100, go up to John Gray or drop down and play a little bit chalkier Grayson Rodriguez, then go Clevenger. But I think Clevenger is fine. For me personally, my favorite pitchers on the slate, I'm going Grayson Rodriguez, all things considered, salary, matchup, everything. He's my number 1. I'll go Blake Snell, number 2. I do like Blake Snell if spending up. He's my favorite. I will go John Gray, number 3, at 6,700. And then, man, the 4th one is kind of wild because I would definitely say Brian Wu if I had concern that he was going to get pitched. But with the uncertainty, I don't think you can really play him. So I would go Kikuchi as well with the upside, the ownership, everything. I mean, he is sub 9K, ton of strikeouts there that he can chuck off. So has upside. Again, it's kind of a weird pitching slate, so that's where I would go. Before we go game by game, again, if you guys are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton over here. We appreciate y'all tuning in. We see Jake in here, Bill Miner, Toga, Butthole, Al, everyone in here. I got our guy Hoop in the chat, Kim. We appreciate y'all being here each and every single day. 182 watching right now, only 47 likes. Let's see if we can get that up to 125 likes. If we get it up to 125 likes, I will go ahead and give away the top 2 ranked pitchers, top 2 ranked hitters over here on the proprietary ranking system. And man, I've talked about it all year long. It's been on fire over here, our tools that we provide. And that's the best thing about our site over here at SHIPIT Nation. It's not fully just spoon-fed cores, 1v1s, 2v2s in the Discord. We provide tools, content, projections, proprietary information that we use to look at, to break down slates and build competitive winning lineups. Our members do it all the time. And that's the best part. We teach you how to become better at DFS, give you all the tools to have success with DFS, like we always say. And you get that all for $321 right now, prorated for 6 months. If you are current members, there's tutorials. If you have questions, hit us up in the Discord. It's really easy. You just go to your account and it will prorate it to get you the best possible price. Let's go ahead and jump into game by game here. First game on the slate, I'm looking at, we'll go in the order of this sheet that I'm looking at. It's St. Louis, it's the Pirates, it's Oviedo on the mound, Adam Wainwright, and man, Adam Wainwright has been absolutely terrible. These Pirates look a little interesting to me. They have a pretty decent total, and man, they're cheap. These Pirates seem like a hoop team to me tonight. I mean, got Endy Rodriguez, Palacio. I mean, the whole back half of that lineup is 3,200 or low. I mean, you got 2 bats in this lineup that are over 4K. The leadoff hitter 2,700. So seems like Hoop might be liking some of these Pirates here tonight against Mr. Wainwright, who can't get anyone out, and then hit on the Cardinals too as well against Oviedo.
Yeah, I mean, definitely going to start with the Pirates, and I think it's just an ideal spot for the Pirates. I mean, the only knock is this ballpark sucks for hitting, but Wainwright is just terrible. And if you followed our content over the course of the last I don't know, season, like if Wainwright's pitching, I'm stacking against them. I don't give a shit. Like I'm just going to do it. And you get a Pirates team that, you look at the roster and it's not sexy by any means. Like hell, a lot of these guys at the bottom have no clue who the hell they are, but guess what? They're like 2K. So they'll be in my lineups tonight. And then there's upside as well, and cheap guys in good spots. You have everything you want. So 5-man I'm good with, 3-man I'm good with. If you're going to stack the Braves tonight, and you want their expensive bats, like you can come here to fill out the rest of your lineup. A lot of cheap guys. I mean, you have 4 guys to complete their lineup: 2,300, 2K flat, 2,200, and 2K flat. And they fill good positions. There's a shortstop in there, second baseman. The catcher's only 2,900. Love the Pirates tonight in all formats. Cash games, GPPs, 150, whatever it may be. Cardinals side a little bit more difficult. I mean, the Cardinals not a fun team to stack, I think, as is, and now they're like in a ballpark where it's not great. If I am stacking them, I typically like them against a lefty. With that being said, you can play Paul Goldschmidt on any slate. Tyler O'Neill's been pretty hot. I'd give him a look. Batting 6, should have virtually no ownership. Burleson's only 3.2K. You can give him a look, but for me, this game's all about the Pirates, and I'm going to be all over them in all formats tonight.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. I'm right there with you. Looking at last 30 night number in particular for Wainwright, I mean, it's red against both sides of the plate. Especially, I mean, he's given 15% walks to the left side of the plate, and the Pirates have some good lefties in here. Palacios, Rivas has been fair over the last 30 days. Brian Reynolds will hit from the left side of the plate to start the game. Ji-Hwan Bae leading off 2,700. Connor Joe does hit from the right side, but guess what? Waino gives up a lot more power to the right side of the plate too. So Connor Joe, Endy Rodriguez, I mean, 1 through 9 are firmly in play for me. Pirates are going to get a little ownership, but man, it just really doesn't matter. Everyone's free in this lineup against a pitcher who can't strike anyone out, gets hit very hard. Expected ERA almost 8, which is not good in baseball if you know the ERA thing. And then on the other side, Cardinals, I'm under on the Cardinals. I just haven't played the Cardinals too much. It's not the greatest ballpark. It's not the greatest weather either. Looking at the weather here, temperatures in the 70s, kind of wind's not really a factor, but it's just more of a salary thing for me for the Pirates and a bet on a terrible pitcher in that being Wainwright. So do have interest in the Pirates, mini stacks, full stacks, anything to fit the build. And hey, if you flip the script and do a double pay up pitcher spot, 5-man these Pirates, you can still fill in some expensive bats there to give you some upside. So Don't hate that. Next game on the slate, we have the Washington Nationals, Josiah Gray on the mound for them. And we have Carlos Rodon, who I've stacked against pretty much every start he's made over the last, it seems like you've been on the other side of the fence. You've been playing Rodon because he is he does have some talent. He is a talented pitcher. He just hasn't figured it out. Rodon is our second worst rated pitcher on this entire slate. But, man, I'm just really not excited to play these Nationals still. Nationals just don't typically hit too many home runs. Always got my guy C.J. Abrams in there batting leadoff, but his price is up to 4,700. These guys are, for what their production is, I mean, they're all the guys you want to play are all 3,500, 4K, 5K. They are pretty expensive. Not a very good implied run total. So personally, I don't have too much interest in the national side, but Yankees right around a 5 implied run total. Get Josiah Gray here. And you got Aaron Judge in that lineup. Any interest in these Yankees against Josiah Gray, and then hit on the Nationals as well?
Yeah, I think another game where offensive pieces are in play. I mean, on the Yankee side, think about this. Last season, if they were facing, Josiah Gray at home, their team total would have been like 5.5, 6. It's just crazy how far they've fallen, where the team total is now less than 5. But I'm going to give them a chance here against Gray at home. Kind of like the lineup they threw together here. Obviously, you have Judge, who's expensive at 6.2K on DraftKings, but everything else is cheap. Like Stanton 4.3, DJ LeMahieu 3.2K on FanDuel. He's 2.5K, and you can play him, I think, at basically like every position. He's first, second, and third base eligible. So I think he's a fine option. Torres, second base eligible, only 4,200. And then, I'm willing to play some of these pieces down here at the bottom. Peraza, Bader at 3-4. So I think they are an interesting team. Definitely want exposure to them. Anything, 20 max or above. If you're playing 150, definitely get some. On the national side, I'm not playing Rodon, and he's going to have some ownership like we talked about. One of those double leverage situations where if you do play the Nationals, not only, and they have success, not only are you going up, but you're double going up against those Rodon teams. And I don't mind the lineup they threw out here. Lane Thomas, Joey Meneses, you had a catcher in the 4-hole, Stone Garrett, 3,600. Kind of like this lineup. So I want some Nats as well. On paper, it doesn't look good. Obviously, the Vegas team total is low. They're not projected to do much, but that's the case all the time. But I do see some upside here in this Nats lineup. So definitely like the Yankee side more, but I think the Nats side is solid play, especially if you're off Rodon. So good game for offense.
Yeah, not the greatest hitting weather. I mean, 77 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour wind, 9-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left field, kind of blowing across the field, in from left, kind of out to right a little bit, kind of straight across. I'm actually a little bit different here. I definitely prefer the National side over the Yankees side here, especially last 30-day numbers here. Rodon's numbers have been horrible. I mean, 16% walk rate. Yeah, he does have a 25% strikeout rate over that, but 16% walk rate. Opposing batters are hitting for a 304 ISO. He's got a 40% fly ball rate. So these guys are getting the ball in the air. And the guys for the Nationals is they lower own guys. Stone Garrett, Riley Adams, Vargas, Joey Meneses. Those guys right in that heart of that order, kind of in the middle. All hit lefties very good. The nice thing about this Nationals team is their entire lineup, 15% strikeout rate. So they're going to put the ball in play against a fly ball pitcher. Rodon's going to be 20 to 25, maybe even higher percent owned. And nobody's going to play these Nationals. Everyone, I mean, I'm seeing the Yankees as a top 5 owned stack right now on the slate, and Rodon's been way worse than Josiah Gray has been, or especially over the last 30-day numbers here. So I would much rather just flip the script, play these Nationals bats, look at the fly ball guys in particular. So that's on the back of Stone Garrett right there, 41% fly ball hitter. Vargas, 40% fly ball guy. Riley Adams, right around 40%. And Alex Call, if he's in there, which I do see he's hitting 8th. Those are the fly ball guys. The rest of these guys really aren't fly balls. But, I mean, Joey Meneses can hit the ball in the air, hit some home runs. C.J. Abrams can do it with his feet. So I do like these Nationals more than I like these Yankees, because these Yankees are going to get ownership. People are going to play Rodon. And nobody's going to play these Nationals. So that's where I'm at. Obviously, you can always play Aaron Judge. I mean, it doesn't take me or Hoop or whoever out here to tell you can play Aaron Judge, one of the best hitters in baseball that we've seen in quite some time. But I definitely prefer the Nationals. So I'm under on the Yankees, a little bit overweight on the Nationals side. Nice little leverage situation there. And guaranteed ninth inning at bats is always nice as well. Next game on the slate, we have that Toronto game. Kikuchi, Grayson Rodriguez have interest in both of these pitchers a little bit. I think for a bats perspective, it's 12 games. You got to cross some games off. I think this is one I'm crossing off in terms of bats. sounds like you might be in lockstep there. Any interest in this one?
Yeah, 12-game slate, can't play everyone. I think this is a good spot to be off the bats. These are going to be two of my top 5 pitchers on the slate in terms of ownership. No need to get cute. The game is a fade for me offensively.
Yeah, we're locked arm in arm. I think the only guy in our entire Discord chat over here is our guy Pensac that's going to say O's always every day. He's usually right. O's have won me a lot of money this year, but I'm not going to play these O's tonight against Kikuchi, and certainly not playing any of these Blue Jays against Grayson Rodriguez. But I will say he is going to get a ton of ownership. He's the de facto SP2 that everyone's punting with. So game theory-wise, yeah, sure, you could, but I think there's much better spots to target, much worse pitchers on the slate, so don't think you need to get too cute. My contrarian team is definitely the Nationals. Prefer the Nationals way over trying to go with any of these Blue Jays here. Next game on the slate, I see the Dodgers. Dodgers projected. They have jumped in the latest updated ownership that I'm seeing. They have jumped as the highest owned stack. They get Mr. Noah Syndergaard, a little revenge factor. Syndergaard taking the hill for the Cleveland Guardians here. Dodgers, little over a 5.5 implied run total. Now heading to Cleveland here to face Syndergaard. And you got the Dodgers not in LA. They're guaranteed 9th inning at bats here. You got Mookie, Freeman, 1 through 9. The one thing, these Dodgers did load their lineup with 6 lefties. So watch for a lot of pinch hit risk concern there. Yeah. Which definitely since the trade deadline acquisitions, Michael Busch is going to get pinch. He's a massive pinch hit risk there. James Outman, Hayward, Peralta, one of those 3 is for sure a massive pinch hit risk because you got Ahmad Rosario on the bench. There's a ton of pinch hit. Really, the only guys that aren't pinch hit risk are the top 4, in my opinion: Mookie Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, and Max Muncy. Everyone else in that lineup is definitely a pinch hit concern. So that does scare me a little bit, especially with the highest owned stack of the day. There's going to be 3 teams that are going to be highly owned on this on this slate. The 2 high-end teams are the Dodgers, the Braves, and then the cheap team is the Pirates, which we already hit on. The Pirates are going to get a lot of ownership, and it's because of their price points. Do you have interest in these Dodgers against Syndergaard? Obviously, you got this baked-in stolen base upside with guys like Mookie Betts. Some of those lefties will run, but you're not guaranteed 4 at-bats from those guys. And then any interest in these Guardians? We didn't touch on Bobby Miller too much. He's a pretty decent pitcher. He was 8,600, does face this low strikeout Guardians team. I think the Guardians are a pretty easy stay away spot, but where are you going in this one?
Yeah, really not much more to add. You said exactly what I was going to say. I am interested in the Dodgers, but you have to be very specific about who you play in this lineup. Like, as soon as a lefty comes in, 3 to 4 of these guys are goners and done for the game. So if you are stacking him, you have to focus on the top 4. It's got to be Mookie. It's got to be Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, and then Max Muncy. It's got to be those 4. And the other one that typically stays in lefty is James Outman. So I guess you could throw him in. So he'd be like the 5th guy that I have the most interest in. Those other ones are gone. They got to get it done early on in this game because if a lefty comes in, it's over. Now, there is a lot of upside against Syndergaard. So Mookie Betts definitely my favorite option here. I want him in all my Dodger stack. He has the power and speed upside. But guys like Peralta, Jason Hayward, Busch, Rojas, too much pinch hit risk for me. So I want to focus in on those other guys. Now, if I'm doing 150 lineups, yes, I'm going to include those guys because they can get it done in 1 or 2 at bats. Just takes 1 swing and they're there. But if you're hand building, it's hard to get outside of that top 4. And then I'd probably throw Outman in the mix too because he typically stays in. So I like the Dodgers, but you have to be very specific about how you go about building those teams. On the Guardian side, just Jose Ramirez, I think, as a one-off. I guess I will say, maybe I will circle back and change my mind because these guys are super cheap. Cole Calhoun batting 3rd, 2.6K. Oscar Gonzalez, 2.2K. So I'll leave those punts in there as well. Just dirt cheap. People are punting. They're going to go to the Pirates, not necessarily the Guardians tonight, but I will include those guys in my teams as well. But it's all about the Dodgers here, but you got to focus on the main guys.
Absolutely. Very well said. I will say Freddie Freeman does have 16 stolen bases on the year. So, hey, maybe Freddie, free money Freddie will get you a stolen base or 2 and hit a bomb against Syndergaard. So I do love Freddie Freeman quite a bit there too. James Outman is pretty safe. He does have 14 stolen bases on the year too. So he will run. 3,400, good price point for him. But yeah, I definitely prefer the Dodgers as a mini stack here. 2-man, 3-man stack. Grab one or two. Even, I mean, if you can afford all three up at the top, yeah, certainly you can do that. But probably going to be pretty chalky 1 through 3, 1 through 4, because the Dodgers are projected to be the highest owned stack of the day. And then drop down, grab Outman. But I would just really, really limit how many of those guys down at the bottom that you play in the same lineup together, because you might be able to get away with 1 pinch hit, but when you start getting 2, 3 pinch hit in your stack, you leave a lot of potential points on the table there. So a little bit under on the Dodgers as a full stack. Do like them as a mini stack, all the reasons you brought up. And then the Guardians, yeah, I mean, Cole Calhoun, 296 expected ISO against right-handed pitching at home this year. Bobby Miller has been a pretty solid pitcher. Does give up a little bit of fly balls to the left side of the plate. That's where obviously Cole Calhoun does hit the ball from. So as a cheap guy with some power, I don't hate it. But yeah, not really going to play these Guardians too much on a 12-game slate for me personally. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the probably the 1B stack of the day behind the Dodgers in terms of the top end spends. It's those Braves at home in Truist Park. I already brought up the weather, 97 degrees to start the game, wind blowing out the entire duration of the game, like 5 to 8 mile an hour, something like that, which isn't enough, but hey, a little wind in hot and humid weather with the best offense in baseball looks pretty good to me. Obviously, same story, different day, 1 through 9 firmly in play. Don't forget about my guy, Orlando, the GOAT, Arcia down there in the 8-hole, like I say, all the freaking time. The dude, his price continues to drop, and he continues to just produce at the plate. I'm not really sure what DraftKings is doing there. Travis d'Arnaud in the 7-hole, I love him. Absolutely love him. 4,200 as a catcher. Pretty expensive price to pay for a catcher, and people are going to see him in the 7-hole. And it's very much easier to click Mr. Endy Rodriguez from those Pirates than spend up almost $2K for Travis d'Arnaud there. Yeah. But I love the Braves here. Obviously, you're probably in lockstep. But these Mets, these Mets have hit the ball a little bit. Obviously, got Alonso there. Same hitting conditions. The only difference is they're guaranteed 9 inning at bats in Truist Park in that weather. Get to face Bryce Elder, whose strikeouts have dropped off a cliff. So might be a little interesting game stack. Definitely prefer the Braves side. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Braves are the best offense in baseball. Now they get a shitty pitcher and a shitty bullpen, a team that's kind of thrown in the towel. They disappointed last night, but man, great bounce back spot here. Like you said, 90 degrees, humidity, wind slightly blowing out. It's a really good spot. You can play everyone here. How you build these teams. I think there are routes this slate to pay for the top end guys, the Ronald Acunas, the Rileys, the Olsons. We have the cheap pitchers. I'm fine doing that. But you can play everyone. I like your call on Arcia. Big upside too, which people don't realize. I mean, I think 2 of my big hits this season have featured Arcia, and people just typically don't play him. Under 4K, going to stay in there the whole game. Like I really like that call. I like the Arnaud call as well. d'Arnaud, 4.2K in the 7-hole. People, tend to avoid that. Ozuna coming off the big game. I mean, you can play everyone here. I mean, they're just the best offense, and they're in a really good spot. And I think the Mets are very interesting as well. You get a low strikeout pitcher in Elder. I would try to focus on the top end guys. Obviously, Pete Alonso, tons of upside. Lindor, Nimmo, this Jonathan Araz guy batting 9th, though I do have interest in 2.4K, second base and third base eligible. But for the most part, I want the main dudes in this lineup. Should be very low owned on the slate with 12 game slate. Other spots people are going, but Braves, we kind of joke around with the content I always put in there. Always the Braves. That is the case. They're just the best offense. They have the best hitters, and they're in a really good spot here tonight. And then I want some Mets as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think this might be like a 12-10 type game here because look at this lineup for the Mets. And if I told you this Mets lineup has 7 lefties in here, and I told you the opposing pitcher over the last month has struck out under 2% of left-handed batters with a fly ball rate of 40%, you might have a little bit more interest in those Mets because guess what? They got 7 lefties that are rolling out against Mr. Bryce Elder. He's got a 1.9% strikeout rate over the last 30 days to the left side of the plate and a fly ball rate of 40% in 97 degrees with wind blowing out. Sign me up for Mr. Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil, Daniel Vogelbach. I mean, if you want a little very, very little contrarian spot there. Play Daniel Vogelbach over Pete Alonso. Get him from the left side of the plate right there at the first base position. Save a little salary. DJ Stewart, who just hit a bomb last night, I believe. The dude's been raking at the plate. He hits from the left side. So I like him. Rafael Ortega, Arroyo's down there at the second base position that you brought up. He's going to hit from the lefty. So these Mets lefties definitely spark some interest for me. The only two righties in this lineup are Alvarez and Pete Alonso. Obviously, you can always play Pete Alonso. It doesn't matter what side of the plate he hits from. Backwards, eyes closed, blindfolded. He'll hit the bomb out. So love the Mets here. And, Braves, my top stack of the day. And I'm seeing their ownership kind of drop a little bit throughout the day, which is definitely making me have more interest. Definitely prefer the lefties on the Braves as well. I'm seeing some rumors in the chat here, a little Michael Harris bobblehead night. And he's from the lefty against Tyler Miguel, who is way worse against lefties. And the Braves got some very good lefties. So Michael Harris, Matt Olson, Eddie Rosario, and Nicky Lopez would be my preference. And then obviously you can always include the righties in there. Travis d'Arnaud, I love him. Ozuna's been good at the plate. Austin Riley. I like the game stack here. Definitely like the lefties on both sides, though, especially the Mets side for sure. And I do think the Mets go pretty low owned here. I'm seeing them sub 5% as a total stack. And Hoop, sub 2% strikeout rate. You don't see too much out of a major league pitcher with some fly balls and some power concerns. So I like this game quite a bit. Next game on the slate, we have the Seattle Mariners. Brian Wu making his first start after the injury. Gets to face this White Sox team who have pretty much quit. Obviously traded a bunch of their stuff away. But they got Mr. Clevenger making a start there for them tonight here. Mariners do have a pretty good implied run total. Hit a couple of bombs last night. Cal Raleigh, Suarez, Teo Hernandez hit one. You got some cheap guys down there in the bottom. Mike Ford, Rojas, who's got some stolen base upside, Marlowe, Canzone. So they are a pretty cheap overall offense with a 5+ implied run total, guaranteed 9th at bats. You might have a little interest in some of these Mariners against Clevenger. And then White Sox, it is just a bet on, hey, maybe Wu is just not right, but he has been a really good pitcher. I mean, 26% strikeout rate before the injury on the season, limits hard contact. Personally, I have zero interest in the White Sox, but talk to me on these Mariners. Do you have any interest?
Yeah, definitely no White Sox interest for me, but I do like the Mariners. I like hot teams that are hitting the ball well, and the Mariners are doing just that right now on the road. Solid ballpark. I mean, the weather's not the best for hitting, but man, I definitely like the Mariners. They're cheap. I mean, outside of Julio Rodriguez, everyone is like 4.3K or below. You got guys towards the bottom that you can play. Josh Rojas batting 9th. You got Teoscar Hernandez batting 6th, only 3.8K. Cal Raleigh at the catcher position with massive, big time upside. I'm in on the Mariners. I actually really like the Mariners, and obviously they're going to come in behind the Dodgers. They're going to come in behind the Braves. I like the Mariners, so I think they're definitely a good team. But yeah, no White Sox for me.
Yeah, no, I do think the Mariners are pretty good. I mean, Clevenger's a fly ball pitcher, which is always, I mean, you always like to stack against fly ball pitchers, right? Because you get the ball up in the air, travels out of the park. Cal Raleigh, last 30 days has absolutely smashed right-handed pitching. Probably going to hit from the left side of the plate to start. Obviously, he's a switch hitter. But, yeah, Clevenger, sub 30% ground ball rate, over a 43% fly ball rate. So I do like these Mariners a little bit. Would definitely lean in on the fly ball hitters. And, again, the Mariners have 4 guys that are all over 35% fly ball rate. Suarez, Josh Rojas, Mike Ford, Cal Raleigh. But then, Teo Hernandez, Ty France, and Canzone are all fly ball guys too for the most part. So I don't hate this lineup. They might get a little ownership, probably a top 5 owned team on the slate, but hot teams in baseball, hot streaks are real in this sport, especially from hitters. So do like these Mariners a little bit, and they're cheap. You can fit them in. I mean, for the upside that they could have in this game, it's pretty good hitting weather too. I mean, 80 degrees in Chicago. Wind's not really too much of a factor against a fly ball pitcher. I mean, I think I definitely have some interest there. And, yeah, White Sox, complete cross-off spot for me. You're not going to really do that. I do think Brian Wu, if I was playing 150 teams, even 20 max, I would definitely have some Brian Wu because everyone else is looking at the same thing that I mentioned earlier, right? The uncertainty, didn't make any rehab starts. If this guy went out and made 3 rehab starts, Hoop, and struck out 4, 5, 6 guys, right? He'd be mega chalk at this price point against the White Sox on this slate. But nobody really knows what concerns, right? They're hearing the hearsay beat writer stuff that they're going to be cautious. I think it's worth taking a chance on Brian Wu a little bit here. So takes me fully off the White Sox bats. Couple games left on the slate, and I got to highlight our guy in the chat, Michael Dolan. We appreciate you being in here. He says 200 people now are watching this. Hit the like button. Let's see if we can get up to 125 likes. If a little over, if there were 3/4 of you hit that like button, we'd be there, and you guys get the top 2 ranked hitters, top 2 ranked pitchers over here. We appreciate that a ton. Michael, thanks for being here, man. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new as well. And it's about time. Well, 3, 2, 1 action. Going to say it one more time. $321 does get you full access to the entire NFL season, majority of the NBA season, and all access to MMA, PGA, NHL, all of our other stuff, all content, all tools. There's SHIPIT Nation education, that Hoop and Tambo, a 4-hour contest breakdown that goes through everything you need to know about NFL, whether it's satellites, whether it's live finals, whether it's milli makers, whether it's cash games, everything for $321 a month. Incredible price point, expert content, projections, tools, the Discord community, everything that does come along with that. So shipitnation.com. Sign up for the 6-month package. You'll see it right there in the middle bubble. If you do click that, even if you're a current member, it will get prorated for you. Let's do it. Let's talk about the next game here. It's Houston. It's Justin Verlander on the mound facing Boston Red Sox coming into town. Tanner Houck on the mound for the Red Sox. Both teams, I mean, Houston has a decent total, 4.9. Boston, 4.2, does face Verlander. Neither you or I had too much interest in Verlander. His strikeouts just have not been there, and now gets a pretty low strikeout team in the Red Sox. I don't have too much interest in this one. I think some of these Astros bats are interesting, but Jordan just got scratched, I believe, for Houston here. So that pretty much fully takes me off this entire game in terms of bats. Maybe you're seeing something I'm not. Do you have any interest?
Yeah, definitely a downgrade, obviously, for Houston with Jordan out. Said he jammed his finger in a door or something at some point. So who the hell knows how long he'll be out. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pick on Verlander. And then on the Astros side, Kyle Tucker, keep him in your player pool. I mean, he has, slate winning upside regardless of, probably just Tucker as a one-off for me. Just not seeing much else. Like, the offense falls off quickly. There's a lot of offenses we liked early on in the slate when we went through. Now it starts to fall off rather quickly, like I said. So I'll be off this game outside of Tucker.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you can always include guys that have 2, 3, 4 home run upside. I mean, this dude is incredible. So obviously, you can always keep a guy like that in your player pool. I would have said, obviously, you can do the same with Jordan, but not after he's slamming his fingers indoors out there. Not really sure what's going on there. Maybe he's got a little fog going on in the head. But hey, he still gets a paycheck at the end of the day, unlike you or I. If we go into work and slam our finger in the door, they're going to tell us, all right, well, take some sick time or something. But he's still collecting a paycheck. I think he'll be just fine. But yeah, it takes me fully off this game for bats. Next one, we got Bailey Ober, or I think it's Bailey. Yeah, Bailey Ober, right?
Yeah.
10-2 for the Twins. In Milwaukee, coming in to face my Brewers. Same story, different year for these Brewers, man. Not going to be the same story, I think, going forward. Typically, it's been usually great pitchers for the Brewers, and the offense has been lacking. Now they face Bailey Ober, who hasn't been great. He's, like you said, has been pretty weak since July. Brewers, super cheap. Obviously, don't love them a ton, but we got cheap guys in this lineup. Overall, I think I'm pretty much down on this game. I mean, Wade Miley, I don't think is the craziest pitcher play. I saw some rumblings in the chat of Wade Miley. He's just 6,300 against a pretty strikeout-happy team in the Twins. Do you have any interest in this one?
No, for the most part. I just realized my boy Rowdy Tellez is all the way down to 2K. 2K flat for Rowdy. I definitely have to include him in my player pool. That's my boy. Always been my boy. And he is $2,000. So I am in on Tellez. And that, man, honestly might be about it on the Brewer side. On the Twin side, Jordan Luplow's batting third. He's 2.6K. He's typically hit lefties well. Royce Lewis, 3.8K, big time upside. Maybe him. But yeah, not much. Like I said, the slate really falls off offensively here pretty quickly, and I won't have a lot of this game.
Yeah, man, never saw the day I'd see big fat Rowdy there at
2K
flat. I mean, we're paying $5,400 for this dude earlier this year.
Yeah.
Hoop's always got a soft spot for Mr. Rowdy, so you better believe Hoop's going to be playing a little Rowdy himself.
Correct.
I actually like a little bit of these Twins. I mean, the 3, 4, 5 I like a little bit. They all hit lefties pretty well. Luplow, I think, was 2K last time, or either his second game or third game back against the lefty. He hit a bomb at 2K. Now he's up to 2,600. Going to DH there. I love him against the lefty. Wade Miley, I mean, you know what Wade Miley is. Low strikeout guy, kind of just game managers out there. But his ground balls do dip a little bit to the left side of the plate. So overall, I mean, Luplow, Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, I think are fine. Really don't love this game too much, though, overall. And then definitely not really playing any Brewers. I think Rowdy obviously can always play a power bat, especially at min salary. He's not confirmed in the lineup, but I do expect him to be in there. Sal Frelick continues to be a stud, Willie Adames, but yeah, really not a ton of interest in this one. Next game on the slate, we have the Reds heading into LA to face Giolito. Giolito going to be the chalk SP on the slate, but these Reds have been pretty terrible overall. Really not a ton of interest for me. And then these Angels have a decent implied run total against Ashcraft. I did see a couple people mention Ashcraft in the chat. Do you have any interest in these Angels? And then any interest in a little leverage situation against Giolito with some of these Reds?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could take a chance on a couple Reds guys. It wouldn't be like an all-in stack type thing, or 5-man stack, more 3-man. Have to feature De La Cruz, obviously, maybe McLean, but not a ton. The problem is they're expensive. So it's like like the double leverage stuff, you're always on board with that, but it's like you're paying a big time premium to play the Reds. So that will probably keep me off them for the most part. Angels, depending on what lineup they throw out there, Ohtani I'm good with. Maybe Drury or Hunter Renfroe or something, but this lineup is just not all that appealing. But if you do go Angels, definitely needs to feature Ohtani, but not a ton overall here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of lockstep with you. I do want to hit our guy TB 500K, Trevor Bryant in the chat. Trevor, we always appreciate you tuning in here. Really, the interest I don't have in the Astros is because now they just lost another lefty in that lineup, and Tanner Houck is a extreme ground ball, well, not extreme, but pretty significant ground ball pitcher to the right side of the plate. Does limit. I mean, between this year and last year, opposing righties are hitting for under 100 ISO. With a ground ball rate of 55%. So he's going to face 7 righties. Obviously, could he get blown up a little bit? Yeah. I mean, Yainer Diaz, Chas McCormick, but really that's why my only interest is pretty much in Kyle Tucker in there, because he's definitely way worse in terms of power, in terms of strikeouts, everything against the lefties. And now he just lost another lefty that he has to face. So that's kind of the reason I'm down on the Astros. And they're not exactly super cheap. I mean, the guys you want to play are expensive, 4,500, 59. I mean, they're 5K mid fours and more expensive than that. So I'm already spending up for the Braves, the Dodgers, like a little bit of the Pirates, stuff like that. So some of those teams that we talked about earlier, the Mets. So that's why I'm out on the Astros. Did want to bring that up for you. We appreciate you being here. No interest really from either one of us in that Reds-Angels game. But now let's talk about another great offense here in Texas. Been a top 3 offense, top 4 offense all season long. Now they head into Arizona, though, and face Zach Gallen, who's a pretty solid pitcher overall. I know both of you and I both had interest. Our pitcher rankings like John Gray as well over here. I don't love the bats here, but I mean, Corey Seager, it'd be a sin if I didn't mention Corey Seager. The dude, I don't know why he's getting pitched to right now, because he continues to just act like he's hitting in a home run derby out there, hitting batting practice. But he's up to 6,600 at shortstop. Obviously, the upside that can come with him. Mitch Garver's been good against righties. Adolis Garcia. I don't hate some of these Rangers bats, but maybe just one-offs for me. Definitely Corey Seager. You can always play him. But overall, I'm pretty much down on both sides of this one. Like we talked about, it's an early night for offense, personally, and some of these later pitchers is how I'm looking at this slate. Are you with me?
Yeah, it's just Corey Seager for me. I mean, massive upside like you talked about. Both these pitchers are great. We're not necessarily on Gallen, but that's more of like a price tag type thing, roster construction type thing. He's still one of the better pitchers on the slate. Don't want to pick on him too much. Just Seager, and then I'm on John Gray, so I just don't have interest in the D-back. So just Seager here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in lockstep with you here. 2 games left on the slate, 2 pretty weak games overall. Next game on the slate, we have Kansas City in Oakland. Obviously not the greatest hitters park by any means in Oakland, but got 2 pretty bad pitchers overall. Some slight wind blowing out in Oakland. It does look like temperatures in the 70s, in the drop into the 60s throughout the game. Hogan Harris is not good by any means, and he's going to get ownership for sure on the slate. I mean, 20+% ownership, I would assume, against a 30+% strikeout rate here from these Royals. Bobby Witt against the lefty, I would always bring him up. I mean, he's going to probably hit 2 here, 5,800 at the shortstop. He could potentially match the upside that Corey Seager might have at the position. So he's 5,800. You do have to spend for it. I don't hate that. I always bring him up against the lefty. He's got some stolen base upside too. I actually don't hate some of these Royals, maybe as a little leverage situation, but don't love it. I think my leverage team is the team I already brought up in the Nationals against Carlos Rodon. So personally, I'm pretty much out on this game. Really don't want to play Hogan Harris either. Like I said, I'd rather just go up a little bit or drop down to Angel Zerpa in the same game. So pretty gross game personally for bats in this one. Do you have any interest?
Bobby Witt, like you talked about, I think he's a fine one-off type option. But yeah, not a ton of. I mean, this lineup for the Royals, it's not out, but it's going to look ugly. It's going to be nasty. They just can't put together a lineup that looks appealing. So it's just going to be Witt for me. If someone super cheap gets to the top, yeah, maybe that guy. And then on the A side, Jonah Bride is 2K flat leading off. Naturally, just going to have interest in that sort of thing. Full punts leading off, third base. But yeah, the rest of the A's, like I'll be passing on.
Yeah, pretty gross spot. Like I said, definitely like the Nationals is my lower owned kind of contrarian play on the slate. The Mets lefties for sure too. I like the Mets lefties a lot. So really don't have a ton of interest in any of these offenses. I mean, these A's have been brutal against lefties all season long. So that's kind of why I have some interest in Angel Zerpa if I need a punt pitcher. So pretty easy stay away spot. Last game on the slate, we got Luzardo, we got Blake Snell, both pretty solid pitchers. I know both you and I had Blake Snell as our favorite pitcher up at the top end. So Marlins, pretty easy cross-off spot for me. Obviously got Jake Berger in there for these Marlins. He's not in Chicago anymore, and he's against the lefty. He'll likely be in that lineup. I don't see a confirmed lineup out yet for Miami, but I have to assume he's going to be in there against the lefty. You can always play him against the lefty, but Blake Snell, he's been pretty solid overall, 31% K rate on the season. No real interest in this one. I mean, you always talk about these Padres. I feel like you and I are never aligned on the Padres. So maybe you have some interest in these late night hammer Padres, but personally, I'm not going to attack Luzardo on the slate.
Yeah, moderate interest in the Padres, actually. Luzardo's been bad, and he's been giving up home runs, and that's the key part here. Like, he not only, it's not like dinks and dunks, doinks giving up singles and soft contact. Like he's been getting hit hard. He gave up 3 home runs last time out, 2 prior to that, and then 3 in his previous starts. So he's given up 8 bombs in his last 3 games. And the Pirates obviously have guys that can leave the stadium. So Kim, Tatis, Machado, Gary Sanchez. I don't think I'd want a 5-man stack, but 3-man stacks. I don't hate the Padres. They're power guys. I want the guys that can hit it over the fence, and they have a lot of those guys. So not necessarily my favorite 5-man stack, but 3-man stack power hunting. I'm interested in that. And then on the Marlins, like I'm not going to be playing the Marlins. I like Snell, so kind of where I'm at there.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. I'm with you there. Looking at last 30 day numbers, now that you brought it up, yeah, Luzardo does strike out lefties. Yeah, I mean, he's got a 37% strikeout rate to the left side of the plate, but just a 22% strikeout rate to the right side of the plate. Opposing teams are hitting for a 337 ISO from both sides of the plate, and he's got 35% fly balls. So I'm looking at the fly ball guys, and guess what? you brought him up. It's the guy that's going to hit probably towards the bottom of that order. It's Gary Sanchez. I mean, the dude's got almost a 60% fly ball rate, hits for a ton of power, ton of hard hit rate. I mean, 83% hard hit rate against lefties in the last 30 days. So love Gary Sanchez, love Tatis, Ha-Dong Kim, Garrett Cooper, Xander Bogaerts. Obviously not a confirmed lineup out yet, but do like the fly ball guys here a little bit against Luzardo. Now that I do look at it a little bit more, definitely prefer a mini stack just because I don't really want a full man stack against a pitcher that could turn it around in the blink of an eye. But that's kind of where I'm at. Sounds like we're locked arm in arm. Let's go ahead and give the people your top 4 stacks, and then we'll give the lower owned pitcher call, lower home run call, and then get on out of here.
Yeah, so how about I give 2 up top and then 2 kind of lower owned. So my 2 that I like expensive stacks, obviously the Braves. I mean, we joke, the answer is always the Braves. It's worked out a lot this season. If you've just played the Braves every single day, you've probably made money if you're over the field. So the Braves I do like, and then I also like the Yankees. We talked about the Yankees. The Pirates are going to be up there. The ownership on the Pirates kind of conflicted though, because it looks like they'll be popular, but it's like, man, these are some nasty names to click on. Are people still going to do it? I don't know. So I'm in on the Pirates, and then I'm going to go to that last team we just talked about, the Padres. People are going to see Luzardo. They're going to be off the Padres bats, but man, those power bats look tasty tonight. So I'll throw the Padres in there as well.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. Yeah, Braves number 1 for me for sure. I love the Braves. My second team up top, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the Mets lefties. I love the Mets lefties. We talked about them.
Yeah,
Nationals are going to be the Nationals are going to be my contrarian stack against Rodon. Just a bet on a bad pitcher. He's been awful, so I do like Rodon to get blown up here a little bit by some of these Nationals that unowned. And then I'm going to go the Mariners against Clevenger and his fly balls there. So ride the hot hand in the Mariners. So those are my top 4. A little bit contrarian. Really, the only ones that are going to get ownership are the Braves. Out of those, the other 3 are going to be pretty low owned. So pair those guys together. You got a nice little GPP team there. Hoop, go ahead and give the people your favorite pitcher that's going to be somewhat lower owned.
I'm going to go, we talked about him a little bit, Kikuchi. The price tag, I think, keeps people off of him. You have Giolito right above him. That's going to be pretty highly owned. So give me Kikuchi. He's been pitching well. I think he has the upside to get the job done today.
Yeah, no, excellent. Always can play Kikuchi at pretty low ownership in terms of his strikeouts. I'm going to go to a guy we talked about quite a bit. It's a late pitcher. Does get a fairly hard matchup here against a pretty low strikeout team in Arizona. But I'm going to go to 6,700 John Gray for Texas. Has tons of upside. And with a pitcher that has 30-plus all-star John Gray, I should say, that has 30-plus upside at $6,700, I'm going to take my chances there. So I like him. Like I said, I do like spending down at pitcher today. Obviously, if we can get up to Blake Snell, sure, that's great. He's going to come with some ownership. But I do like 5-manning those Braves. Shocker there. So I need some cheaper pitchers. I'm going to look at John Gray on this slate. Go ahead, Hoop. Home run call of the day, everyone's favorite segment. Where are you going for your home run call?
Oh, I'm gonna go to the Padres. I think we both kind of talked ourselves into it. Go Manny Machado. He's got some upside, got some power. I think he takes Luzardo yard tonight.
Well, I will give the people a little mini stack from those Padres because I'm going probably to the 7-hole hitter. I talked about his fly balls. I talked about his power. I'm going to Mr. Gary Sanchez to pair with Hoops Machado. Count it. He's hitting a bomb tonight off of Luzardo. That's going to do it for this episode of The Witching Hour. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Didn't get the likes home. A little hurtful with 240 watching here, only 90 likes. Hit that like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Again, this is brought to you by ShipItNation.com. Head over there. $321 does get you access to all of our sports, including PGA, MMA, NBA, which is shortly coming up, and NFL, which is less than 10 days away. Opening night there, right around the corner. Best time of the year, like Christmas morning. Once that first NFL whistle gets blown for that regular season kickoff. Can't wait for that. We have you covered. $321 does cover the entire NFL season, including the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl, after Super Bowl is over at midnight, would be the end of the 6 months that you go there for. So definitely head over there, 321. But we appreciate y'all tuning in. That's going to do it for us. Thank you. Good luck in your contest tonight. We'll be in the Discord. We got our content up on the site. If you have questions, head over there. Hit us up in the Discord. But for Hoop, I'm Nades. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care.